Mr. Marchant, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question is for Ms. Aviv. As part of its good governance initiatives, the independent sector has identified 33 principles in its Principles for Good Government and Ethical Practice Guide to help tax-exempt organizations with operations and transparency. Are any of the 33 principles reflected in the revised Form 990?
Mr. Marchant, I'd have to get back to you on that, which I can do in writing to be sure that they are there. Let me say that the general point of these principles was for them to be applied to ourselves by ourselves. This was a set of voluntary principles that we put forward and said that in order for this not to be a government compliance area, that we need to step up to the plate and support standards of good governance and ethical practice that we impose upon ourselves. And it was so the purpose of them was not to encourage further government action in this regard, believing that there are whole areas of governance that organizations themselves have a responsibility to fulfill, which is why we're so pleased that so many organizations have stepped up, downloaded this document, and are using them in order to improve their practice. We believe the more we step up, the less need there is for government to step in.
Are there some principles not incorporated into the form that you think should be?
I will have to get back to you on that and let you know. I will do that in writing. I'd be happy to do that.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to Mr. How do you say it?
It's Regier.
Regier. Welcome. Your offices are in my district in Las Colinas.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you here today. And I have a couple of questions for Mr. Hopkins. Can you briefly describe the distinction between a 501c4 and a 527?
I can do it. Whether I can do it briefly or not is another matter.
In the allotted time that I have left.
But let me put it this way: they're both discrete categories of tax-exempt organizations. The 527 entity has as its primary purpose political campaign activity. The flip side is a 501c4 cannot have that as its primary purpose and must have as the promotion of social welfare its primary purpose. So the primary purpose test takes those two organizations in different directions. We've talked about the donor disclosure rules. They apply to 527s. They do not currently apply to 501c4s. 527 organizations are taxable on all of their revenue from non-exempt functions, whereas a 501c4 would be taxable only on its unrelated business income. And the only other element that I can think of that would differentiate between the two is that the reporting for political organizations is far more complex and frequent than is the case for the 501c4 organization.
So there's been a lot of recent activity out in the country among some of our activist groups that are complaining that the IRS is putting an incredible paperwork burden on them to prove that they should have the status that they have. And I'm assuming that these are 501c4s that are, the accusation is that they're doing 527 type activity. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And the IRS, I'm getting a lot of complaints from my constituents that feel like that they are perfectly justified and are following all the rules under 501c4, but that the IRS has singled them out for audit for hundreds and hundreds of pages of forms. And has this always been the case, or is this a recent phenomena?
This is a recent phenomenon, in my judgment, for two reasons. One, 501c4s, of course, do not have to file to begin with. And so the practice in many, many instances up till recent times has been for an organization to form as a 501c4 and just go forward and not even go through the application process. Why there's been this upsurge in application activity is not entirely clear to me, But the impression I've gotten, based on the limited amount of experience derived from my own practice, is that for some reason the IRS does seem to be asking for a lot more detail in this context than they might otherwise.
And I would hope, Mr. Chairman, that at some date we will have the IRS here so that we can specifically ask the IRS, you know, why is there this sudden new focus on these groups? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, gentlemen, and I share his concern. And